John, is Derek coming on too this morning?
I'm on.
I thought
Oh,
he
you are. I'm
was.
sorry. I
Yeah.
don't see you yet. All right. Well, it's 9:31. Maybe we'll give it another minute here while people continue to sign on. I'd like to welcome you to the first of our committee weeks calls for the 2026 legislative session. Today, we are being joined by our lobbying team, Jeff Littlejohn, who manages all of our environmental policy. And then we also have John Johnson and Derek McGee from Johnson and Blanton, who handle our general and transportation related bills. So again, a few minutes here while we let maybe a couple folks join, and then I will turn it over to them. And just so you know, these recordings will be available as a member benefit to you, and they will be on either the FES or ACEC Florida websites. Just log in with your profile information to access the content.
That's great. And I think Marnie George in my office may be joining us
Oh,
as
perfect.
well if she's so.
Thank you, Marnie.
I think she is, but we're in separate locations right now.
Gotcha. Okay, well, it looks like we have a solid 40 guests here this morning, so I think that's a good start. And certainly we welcome people to join as they can, but in the interest of everyone's time, again, welcome this morning to our first of the committee weeks calls that will be held over the next several weeks. If you are interested in receiving a reminder email, please be sure to register. Otherwise, these events do not require registration. So without further ado, shall we start with you, Jeff?
I'm happy to, and thank you, Laura. Thank you, everybody, for listening in. This is the first interim committee week, and should be no surprise to anybody that not a lot is going on in the kind of substantive policy world. There was a lot of organizational actions this week. I'll let John and his team describe those to you. In the environmental world, very little is going on right now. We did have a meeting of the the Senate Environmental and Public Works Committee in the, Senate Environmental Committee in the Senate, and then the House Environment and Disaster Committee met in the House. On the Senate side, all they did was take a Fish and Wildlife presentation on boating regulations. So they did a confirmation vote on one of the FWC commissioners. On the House side, they took a field trip of the committee over to the state EOC. So they didn't accomplish anything substantive there either. There are only a couple of bills that have been filed so far that are in the environment or energy wheelhouses. There's a bill filed by Senator Sharif down in Broward County that has to do with blasting for mining activities and adverse effects on residential properties. I don't expect that to go anywhere this year. And then also on the Senate side, Senator Gates filed a bill to make some changes to the Public Service Commission. So I'll be watching that one closely for the Environmental Committee. I suspect there's something afoot there if it's filed by Senator Gates. That's the end of my report. I'm happy to take any questions. I'll also make sure I finish my first cup of coffee which may help me with my tongue-tied committee descriptions. Sorry about that. I got to get warmed up. I got to get stretched and lumbered out for session again.
Well, I'm on about my fifth cup of coffee, Jeff. So I got the opposite problem. So,
Well,
Laura, you want me to jump in now?
I don't see any questions in the chat for Jeff. So thank you so much, Jeff, for being with us. I'm sure if anybody comes up with something, we can try to squeeze that in or drop it in the chat. I'll make sure that Jeff is aware. And now, without further ado, I turn it over to John Johnson.
Thanks. Appreciate you all being on and your interest. And I would also welcome Derek and my team to jump in at any point as well, to add any color commentary or to correct me if I say something goofy. So first committee week, as Jeff mentioned, and I think you all know this, but every other year session starts early on election year. So we'll be starting in January. There will be another interim committee week next week, 2 in November, 2 in December, with obviously rumored that they may try to cancel one of those, and then January start date. Same over on general bills and transportation. Nothing really filed yet. It's early. Just hearing reports from different agencies in these committee meetings. Of note, a couple things that I think are going to be taking a lot of, just a lot of oxygen. The House Speaker is really, really interested in property taxes. They've got a select committee on property taxes that is going right now. He also would like to shrink the budget, and that's of no surprise to anybody. And so we expect there to be just some budget challenges. They're still expecting a little bit of a drop in the out years that they're trying to plan for. But again, anytime you've got those budget considerations, the trust fund the couple trust funds that we follow are really come under scrutiny. But what I'd like to spend most of our time chatting about is we've got several initiatives on the FES ACEC side of the ledger that we are pursuing. First is we're supporting FEMIC and the Board of Professional Engineers with regards to changes to Chapter 471. Nothing I hope is going to be controversial there, but you never know. There's they want to kind of increase penalties for unlicensed activity. There's a memo of understanding that the board worked out with actually the United Kingdom to just make it easier for engineers from there, engineers from here to be going back and forth to be working. That's got to be codified in order to take place. And so that's kind of what we're doing now is we're trying to shop for sponsors to file that bill. The other issue that we are working on is the Transportation Committee has put forth a initiative to establish kind of a loan forgiveness or loan assistance program similar to what nurses do that would give an up to amount to assist engineers who decide to work at a state agency. I think the goal is primarily to benefit DOT and DEP, and we're same thing. We're shopping for sponsors for that legislation. Finally, we've got the CLGR board. Several of our firms have brought to us, and I'm not an attorney, so I may butcher some of this, but several years ago, we were able to get some language passed as it relates to design contracting that prohibits state agencies from requiring us to have indemnification language in our contracts. And so they would like to see this extended to the private sector and to all contracts. Given this current speaker's administration, that's probably going to be a really big lift. This may not be a kind of but this may be a multi-year strategy, but I think the consensus is we want to get the issue out there. We want to get a bill number. We want to get it filed, and we want to be able to have conversations in and around that issue when you all are in town or when you go to see legislators back home. Bill Connerly, our resident engineer in the legislature, is agreed to file it in the House, and we're shopping right now for sponsors in the Senate. And then one final issue that we believe is going to rear its head again is going to be the deregulation bill that the House put out last year.
And when I say that, it's I call it re-regulation. It removes all the professional boards and places the regulation of our professions with the department directly. We of course oppose that, as does most of the other of all the design professionals, CPAs, et cetera, realtors, all oppose seeing their boards, the regulatory boards being abolished. But we are expecting that to come back, and that's going to take a good bit of our time fighting that issue. Many of you probably know, but we're a little bit unique in that we have a hybrid regulatory scheme. We are, we've got our management company we have a private management company that regulates and staffs the Board of Professional Engineers. So we have a privatized model. And so we're hoping with that being the case, we might be able to convince policymakers to carve us out before that initiative gets, legs down the road. So those are really the issues that we're focusing on. Hopefully in the next few weeks, you'll start seeing bill numbers assigned to this as we hopefully get legislators that are willing to sponsor some of this stuff for us. So Derek, am I missing anything that you can think of?
No, you covered it all.
Okay. And I will say on one side note, the House this week, or I'm sorry, the House Republican Caucus
Mhm.
officially designated Representative Sam Garrison as their choice to lead the chamber after the 2026 election cycle. And the Senate Senator Boyd is going to be in the same position where his ceremony will be next week on the Senate side.
So John, thank you. We have a few questions and some thoughts in the chat. So if you don't mind entertaining some of those, if you can see them, happy to just defer to you. But if you'd
Yeah,
like me to summarize,
if you can, yeah, I apologize. I'm on my iPhone, so I don't
gotcha,
have
no problem.
fuller access.
So certainly. So let's start with you, Mark. I understand that you had both some questions and some concerns about the memorandum of understanding with the United Kingdom. I'll just turn that over to you so that you can articulate your thoughts.
Sorry, had to find the mute button. Can you hear me?
Yep, we can hear you.
Yeah. I was just wanting a little bit of clarification. So does that mean engineers from UK would be doing work for Florida, or what
Yes.
exactly is this? So we're a small business here in Florida, and it's already hard enough to get enough work for us to grow. So I'm not sure why would we be inviting engineers from out of the country to help out with Florida work.
Well, it's a reciprocal agreement that is, and again, I'm not defending it one way or the other. This is something that the Florida Board of Professional Engineers, in conjunction with the governor's office and in conjunction with the Department of Commerce, worked out where they believe it to be a win-win opportunity for Florida firms to work abroad and for UK folks to come this way. That's kind of that's the trend line in terms of reciprocity and free, free commerce, if you will. Again, I'm not defending it. I wasn't part of it. This was something that was worked out a couple of years ago, and in order for them to realize it, it's got to be codified in Chapter 471.
Yeah. So I think the biggest concern.
sorry.
So
Go ahead, Mark.
So they just took away the DBE, which we were in support of, but they have not replaced like a small business initiative, and so we're already hurting for that, and now we're inviting engineers from UK, and I doubt small businesses are going to get invited, reciprocating going to work over in the UK. I just don't see that happening. I see that working out fine for the big companies, but it's like the small companies are getting squeezed here. Are you able to maybe add in the chat, like who from the Florida Board of Professional Engineers and like who is pushing this so that we
Hey.
can contact them and tell them our concerns?
Hey, Mark, this is Derek. I work with John. What I'll do is I'll send you. So this all came about. The governor did a trade mission a couple of years ago, and this was a result of the trade mission he did. And so I'll try to find the actual memo that they released as a result of that agreement and send that to you. I think the wording will be helpful. And you know, none of us were on that trade mission. I'm not even sure if the board was on the trade mission either. But it was a result of the governor's trade mission that he does through the international arm of the Department of Commerce, our Florida Department of Commerce. And so they had it in the department's bill last year to try to codify it in law. Of course, that bill didn't pass. But I'll try to find that, and I'll get it to Laura to get to you. I think it'd be worthwhile to read the
All right.
original language as well. I mean, and from the board perspective,
Well,
that question, I don't know the answer to the question to the board part.
Yeah.
Hey, good
Okay.
morning.
No, I just want
I
to
guess,
Yeah.
find who's
Yeah,
actually
Mark,
fighting
if
for
you'll just
small
hold on,
businesses
Yasi
here in
Myers is
Florida.
on the call, and Yasi is on the board, so perhaps she can shed some light.
yeah, all I can say is this is not happening just in Florida. So again, as it was stated earlier, is one of initiatives of Governor DeSantis for free trade. You know, so all the details have not been worked out. It's just an opportunity for reciprocation, basically between Florida and UK. We basically said we don't have anything against it. Okay. And and this was also discussed at NCES. So it's a part of a bigger deal here. So again, the details have not been worked out, but the board didn't see any harm in it. And Mark, the small business, I don't want to talk about that, is a totally different very subject altogether. The small business is what you're referring to is the state has not yet come up with any incentives for small business as it did for DBE. I am personally glad DBE went away, although I am a DBE, but I was never in favor of it. And I think we all about small business, and I'm sure, and this is something that we have got to provide really input as small business to Jared and the Central Office as to develop some guidelines on small business, because right now there's no aspiration goal. Yes, they did raise a threshold, said, 10 million, but unless you put some kind of aspirational goals, nobody's going to put small businesses. They're not going to go out of their way to put a small business on the team. So I'm hoping that ACEC is working with Central Office in that regard. I'm not involved, but I just wanted to kind of respond to your question. I think I am working with some of the agencies here locally, providing input as to what I think they should do. They need to have some kind of incentive, but DOT, I have nothing to do with it. I'm sure we've got our own small business subcommittee. So anyway, just wanted to kind of let you know how the board felt about everything.
Yeah, and I get when you say we are not against it. You know, I accurate because I just wonder who actually benefits from reciprocating and bringing in engineers outside the country to help with Florida work. So, but yes, I'll leave it. Yeah, if somebody can send me those contacts, because I would like to ask more questions. Thanks.
Is there any other questions there?
Right,
Right.
we did have a question from Greg, or a point rather.
Oh.
Greg, would you like to share?
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure I understand correctly because, and make sure that we're properly positioning for this. Because in previous years, we've talked a lot about the FDOT trust fund and how it's important for infrastructure. This year, it seems like we need to be talking about them rating the counties and the county funding, because if I'm not mistaken, it's going to have a much larger impact on the counties, this property tax reduction that they're planning. I had seen this morning on the news, there was a $1,000 reduction that somebody submitted a bill for a $1,000 reduction, which in or $1,000 rebound on everybody's property taxes. So are they planning to just kind of raid the county funding? Is that the current thought,
No, there's no
or is it being
plan.
seen that way? Or okay,
Yeah, there's no plan right now. What that $1,000 refund is, I'm not sure who filed that. But that was what the governor proposed last session. And it was rejected. So I imagine that's the governor's office trying to find somebody to put that issue into play. The House has got a select committee on property taxes. And again, they've only had one meeting. They're not meeting. They didn't meet this week and they're not meeting next week. And so it really, it remains to be seen, what proposal they're going to put forward. But there's no doubt about it that a lot of people understand there's a massive impact to local government, in particular schools as well. And how would they replace those funds to the local governments? But as of right now, no plan. There's no definitive plan or proposal that's been put on the table. It's all discussion at this point, and there's no indication right now of really where the Senate's coming from. So there's quite a bit of football on this. In fact, I think we're just still in preseason. The game hadn't even started yet. So, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of concern about the impact that as this trickles down to locals.
no,
Thanks,
thank
John.
you.
David?
That's what I was curious. Thanks.
Thanks, Greg. David, I see you, but we're going to go next to Jesse and then David and then Scott, I see you as well. Jesse,
Thanks,
please.
Laura.
Sure, you're welcome.
I was just asking to go back and bring up what we are looking for the indemnity bill that is looking to be sponsored. I wasn't real clear on what was going on there. It was kind of skimmed over quickly. So I just wanted to get a little more understanding what FES was supporting in that bill.
Well, why don't I do this? If you could give Laura your email, let me email the proposal that Peter Moore has put together, that Bill Connerly has put into bill drafting, and then she'll put my mobile number on there. You can call me directly after. I think it'd be better if you had an opportunity to review it. Because again, I'm not an attorney, so I know enough to be dangerous on it. I think if that's okay with you, why don't you review it first, and then we can have a follow-up.
Yeah, I'm just curious because you mentioned it and I didn't know it wasn't clear as what the 10,000-foot level was.
Well, whatever it was because I worked on the legislation. This was back a number of years ago when we were able to get some protections in our contracting. Basically, what was happening is state agencies were saying, "Hey, we're not going to contract with you unless you put some really broad you indemnify us from our liability." And the legislature prohibited that from happening because they had a lot of leverage over the firms and the contracting. And so a number of firms would like to extend that to all contracts, so that we're not having to pay for additional liability or take on, indemnify others for their errors, if you will. So it's a big lift and they know it. But the CLGR folks would still like to get a bill number out there and be able to start talking about the issue. And like I said, we will send you the language, and I think it'd be helpful for you to look at it first, and then we can get the right people on the phone
Yes,
with
please.
us.
I'd like to review it with our subcommittee, our government section subcommittee, and see if that is
Sure.
something we want to support too, because I'm not sure that it is.
Thank you, Jesse. David?
So two quick things. One, with the tuition bill that is, being drafted. We have a lot of government agencies in addition to state agencies that are part of our membership, counties and municipalities and their employees. They struggle to have enough employees to be able to get the work managed that we're trying to get, that we're trying to do for them. And so I think that there is a benefit to um, all the consultants plus the other government agencies to possibly be considered as part of that. We could probably get more work issued to us if they had more staff to manage it. And I know they struggle to find staff as well. So just something to for
Are
me,
you
Jesse.
talking about local, you talking about local government agencies?
Yes, state, yeah, yes, county and municipalities.
Okay.
So I know the focus is the state agencies currently. I just think that we have a lot of county and city or municipality aid members also. So I just wanted to put it out there. And maybe Jeff can, not Jeff, Jesse, in his group can get a census if they, if they think it's would be useful or not. And then the second question was with um, the privatization that strategy that we have for our licensure. Is
Yeah.
that something that, we think will, I guess I always wonder the difference between what the lawyers do and what we do and how like they don't seem to be under attack as much as we are. And I'm not sure exactly those that like dynamic and how we can if it would work or if like our strategy is going to be viewed by um the representatives as like a more kind of market driven strategy anyways compared to some of the other strategies. So I just got that juxtaposition to what the lawyers do because it's different than what a lot of the other agency or licensure does and what we do as well.
Is that a comment or a question?
I guess it's kind of a question of like I'm trying to understand the difference between the way that the lawyers are legislated versus the way that we do it versus the way that a lot of others just do it because it just seems like they don't come under the same fire. And maybe they're just better at lobbying than us because they're lawyers. You know.
Well, it's a different, if it's, and there's plenty of legislators that are frustrated with the regulatory scheme for lawyers.
Okay.
They are regulated by the Supreme Court, and the difference is that, the Florida bar is, a mandatory, you have to be a member of the Florida bar, and you have to be licensed. Um, you know, you have to be licensed under the bar, and that's statutorily mandated. So from our standpoint, only those that need to be PEs have to be registered and get licensed. And there's no requirement or mandate that you be a member of FES. We'd love that. It'd be great to put that in statute. But it's a different scheme. And they and I
But
think
just
you have a lot
I
of
think I
lawyers.
heard.
You have a lot
I
of
heard
lawyers
it.
in the legislature.
Yeah,
So
I heard it that it's a scheme that's driven from the federal government through the state, and it kind of bypasses some of their administration in the process. Did I hear that right?
not sure I'm following you, to be honest with you.
You said it was regulated by the Supreme Court.
Supreme Court.
So that
Yeah.
yeah,
Florida,
okay, so-
Florida Supreme Court. The Florida Supreme Court.
Oh, okay. Thank you
Yeah,
for the
sorry.
clarification.
Yep.
Okay.
Thanks, David. So before we move to Scott, Sandy had offered to answer your question about the student loan. So perhaps the two of you, in the interest of time, since we're at that 10 o'clock mark, can get together. But then Mark, if you'd like to look into the chat, Derek has been kind enough to post a statement from FPBE about that reciprocity and the MOU with the UK. So you can click that link to learn a little bit more about that. And now we'll go to Scott Perfader, please.
In the
Thank
interest
you.
of time, yeah, I was just gonna, ask John and Derek's opinion about the long-range financial outlook and the shadow maybe that will cast or is casting over committee weeks in the session. It projected in the out years some significant deficits. And in my conversations with members, to include Broder and Kennedy and a few others, they're all focused on cutting. So to Greg's point, I think it's all of the above probably at risk. DOT, counties, everybody. Is that
I agree.
true?
And then again, yeah, I mean, there's a significant tension, at least there was last session. And I mean, I don't have any reason to believe that it won't exist again, but there was significant tension last session between the House leadership and the Senate leadership. From this standpoint, the House leadership, they were interested in, reducing the sales tax across the board. The governor was interested in reducing the property taxes, and the Senate was really not interested in doing any of the above. They felt like that they felt like there is going to be an out year, about a 3-year out year where there's a $3-4 billion deficit coming, and they basically don't want to hamstring their successors with having to do scorched earth cutting. They felt like if they held on to the revenue that we currently have and do some modest reductions in places, that's a better approach. But again, you just have some big philosophical divides where, again, the governor would like to see property taxes abolished. The Senate seems to be moving a little bit off of their sales tax reduction idea and gravitating more towards looking at a property tax reduction. And again, you got the Senate stuck there in the middle who they just feel like, it's irresponsible to, with given what they know is coming, to just continue to slash our revenue.
Thank you, John. And again, we're here at the little bit after 10 o'clock, but if anybody had any last questions that you'd like to pose, certainly we'd be glad to entertain those. And in the meantime, just a few quick reminders for you. The next call like this will be next Friday morning at 9:30. If you are interested in receiving a reminder the day before, you should register for this call, and you do so by visiting our website and clicking on the events calendar, and then it will show all of the upcoming calls for our committee weeks updates. And from that, you can register and you will get that reminder the day before. But again, only during committee weeks. And as John said, maybe some towards the end around the holidays may or may not be canceled. So we'll certainly keep you apprised of that. For future, if you are interested in offering any suggested legislation for us that you haven't heard us reviewing, please either email me, John, and or Jeff, Derek, and we can review those and add those to the list. Obviously, a lot of different things will be introduced here over the coming weeks and even during session, and we'll be doing our best to monitor them with keywords so that we can be updated on everything that may have an impact. But if you should hear something in some of your other professional organizations or something that you come across that you think would be relevant to our organizations, then certainly bring that to our attention so that we can give that a review. Jeff, would you like to add anything for the good of the order in terms of either logistics or expectations for session and the rest of committee weeks? Okay, well, while Jeff thinks about that, John?
I'm good. Thank you.
Okay. Well, again, thank you very much for joining this call. We look forward to seeing you next week, and we appreciate your engagement. Have a good day.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thanks all. Bye. Thank you.